today I'm going to show you how to make this little bracelet with the GGC treasure bag. However, the newest one, the Santa's Treasures. However, you can do this with other beads, and we will discuss that in the next segment. So don't feel like you are left out if you do not have the bag. This is a very simple, very basic technique that can be used with lots of different sizes and shapes of beads. You just get a little bit different look. This kind of gives you kind of a little cross look, and I thought it would be really pretty as kind of a Christmas themed bracelet. However, you can do it in different color schemes, and it does not have to be Christmas themed. I did add a little bitty charm here on it. You can add any kind of charm you want. I used one of the snowflakes and it turned out really cute. I'll take it off and let you see it. I want to apologize for the fact that it's taken me so long to get back to doing some tutorials for the treasure bag, and I know it's late in the season and Christmas is almost here and I didn't finish up all the bag, but my first grandchild was born and I'm in Colorado and he was in Nebraska. So I went to stay with my son and his wife and help them out for 2 weeks with the newborn. And I kind of got trapped there in Nebraska because the weather was so messed up, and Highway 76, I-76 that I needed to take back into Colorado was closed for 3 days, and then I got on the road. I traveled a little bit and because it was open, but then they closed it that day. So then I got trapped in Ogallala, Nebraska. So it was just one of those things, and I really apologize. But I'm going to try to put out a couple real simple things real quick so us last minuters can get a few things done before Christmas. And also, we can always make it for next year, and we can use some of these beads that are in here for other designs too. They don't necessarily have to be Christmas. But anyway, this is what we're making today. Let me get close and show you the units. Very simple right angle weave with an extension in between each unit, and it turns out really pretty. And like I said, you could change your color scheming too with this. So you could do red and green, or however you want to do it. You could do it in silver and gold. You could do it however you want to. So that's that. And again, I apologize, and I will try to get a couple more things done as quick as I can. I'm very sorry that I did not get to the treasure bag as quickly as I should have. I apologize for that. So let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this bracelet. Okay, for this project today, we will be using the 6x4 Rondelle glass pearls that you have in your Christmas treasure bag. However, if you do not have the treasure bag and you do not have any of these Rondelle shaped pearls, you can use a regular Rondelle shaped crystal, a 6x4 Rondelle crystal. You could probably change shapes with this particular stitch too. The only difference in changing shapes is you may have to modify the amount of beads you put in your embellishment, and it will look a little bit different shaped. Now with this kind of pearl, it makes kind of a cross shape. With different shapes, it may make more of a floral look, which it will all be pretty. You just have to experiment with it. So you can do this regardless if you have this particular bead or not. You could even try it with probably a 4 or a 6 millimeter round. Just probably a 4 would work better. And see how it works. Then we're going to be using some 8-0, 11-0, and 15-0 seed beads. These are all Toho. My 11-0 and my 15-0 are galvanized permanent finish starlight, and my 8-0 is frosted pine. I'm going to be using one of the clasps that were in the Christmas treasure bag, and you can use either color. It doesn't matter. It just depends on what you select for your seed beads. There are silver and there are gold clasps in the bag. I'm going to use a gold one. I'm going to be using a size 12 beading needle. You could probably get away with a 10, but we are using 15-0 seed beads, so a 12 usually works better. I am using 6-pound Fireline this time because nanofill is getting hard for a lot of people to find. So I bought this. It's Fireline Thermally Fused Tough, and it is 6-pound, and it is very similar to working with nanofill 10-pound or 8-pound, more like 10-pound, but it really works very similar to the way the nanofill does. It feels similar to it. It's very smooth. So because nanofill is getting harder and harder to find, it is going to be discontinued from what I have heard. I could be wrong, but I have heard that it's going to be discontinued, and people have been asking me about it. So this is what I have decided to try to use. I've used it several times and I really like it. It is very comparable to nanofill. So this is what I'm using. I'm going to put a wingspan onto my needle approximately. A wingspan is when you put your arms out to your side, you measure from the fingertips on your first arm, the length of that arm across your chest, the length of your second arm, and to the fingertips on that arm. That is a wingspan. You may need to extend your Fireline or nanofill. You can also use nanofill, yes, during this project, and I will post a link to a video that will show you how to do that if you do not know how. So let's go ahead and thread our beading needles and get started. Okay, after you've threaded your needle, we'll begin this project by picking up one of the Rondelle pearls or whatever type of bead you're using, and then we'll pick up an 11-0, another Rondelle, 11-0, Rondelle, 11-0, Rondelle, and an 11-0. So what you will have on your needle is 4 rondelles and 4 11-0 seed beads. Start with a rondelle, finish with an 11-0. Then you are going to bring these down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but you need enough so that your beads won't slide. You can hold on to it, and you can tie a knot. So I'm leaving several inches here. And then I'm just going to go from the tail side back up through the first bead I put on to my thread. And I'm going to hold on to the tail, and I am going to hold on to this bead, and I'm just going to pull these down like this. Once you have gotten this far, you're going to sew through all of the beads to secure them, and then we'll tie a little knot. So we're coming out of this bead here. We're going to go into the next bead. Now they are going to loosen up. That's okay. We'll tighten them back up. Just have enough thread so that they won't slide off. And don't pull hard so that you pull your thread through. And then just continue sewing around all of the beads. So I'm going to go into the next rondelle and the next 11-0 and pull my needle through. And then into the next rondelle and the next 11-0 here. And I'm just going to hold on to my tail and my working thread and pull this all tight, just like this. Now, my thread, my working thread and my tail thread are right next to each other, and I'm just going to cross them, put the tail thread back through the loop, and just tie an overhand knot. Bring it down between the beads and tighten it. And then do that one more time. Just bring your tail and your working thread together, bring your tail thread through the loop, and pull. Just like that. Now, we are going to put an embellishment on this. So we're coming out where the knot is. So what we need to do is we need to sew into this rondelle. So we're right between the 11-0 and the rondelle. Let's go into the rondelle. Now we're going to embellish this by picking up 3 15-0 seed beads onto our needle, and then an 8-0, and then 3 more 15-0s. And I know you can't see me. I will show you what I have on my needle. Oops, I just knocked them off. Let me pick up 2 more here. Okay, So I have 3 15-0s, an 8-0, and 3 15-0s. I am going to go into the bead opposite of the one I'm coming out of here, and I'm going to go into the opposite side. So I'm going at a diagonal. So I'm going to go straight across, and I'm going to go into this bead on this side, right here. And it's hard to hold on to at this point, so just hold on to it the best you can. And pull these beads down on top of the little cross shape that the rondelles made, just like this. Then you're going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and you're going to go back into the 8-0. So just go into the 8-0 here, and it may loosen up. We'll tighten it as we pull these through. So go into the 8-0 and pull your thread through and give a little tug. Now we need to finish this part here, so we're going to pick up 3 more. Let's get you just a little closer. We're going to pick up 3 more 15-0 seed beads onto our needle. And we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we started in, right here. And pull this down. And now, just to get it out of my way, I'm just going to cut down this tail thread. I'll leave a little tag here. After I put my clasping on, I can burn that down and get rid of it. But I want to put my clasp on now because we're not going to sew back up through these. So this end will be prepared. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads onto our needle and an 8-0. And we're going to drop them down. And then we're going to go through the loop on our clasp. Let me back off just a little bit. So I'm going through the loop on my clasp, and I'm going to bring this down to the 8-0 seed bead. Just like that. And then I'm going to go back into the 8-0. And just the 8-0. Ignore the 15-0s beneath it. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to hold on to that 8-0 so I can just kind of guide my thread through as I pull. And guide my clasping down to the beads. And make sure the beads, the 15 or the 11-0s are tight up against the rondelle here. Then pick up 3 11-0 seed beads onto your needle. Like this. And go into this side. So we're going into the opposite side. Ignore all the 11-0s and 15-0s on either side. Just go into the rondelle. And we'll get close again. And then let's pull these beads down. And this is what you should have. And we're going to sew back up through this 2 more times. So I'll do it 1 time on camera with you, and then we'll do it 1 time off camera. So I'm coming out of the rondelle. We're going to go up into the 3 11-0s on the side you're coming out of, up into the 8-0, and then through the loop on the clasp. And we're going to pull this. Give a tiny tug so that everything tightens up. Then go back into, so you're now on this side of the clasp, go back down into the 8-0 and the 3 11-0s on the opposite side from which you started. And then pull this down. Go into the rondelle from this side now, and just manipulate your needle through so that you don't get any of the 11-0s or 15-0s in the way, and pull your thread through. And this is what you should have. Do this 1 more time and we'll be back. Okay, so this is what you should have now, just like this. You're coming out of the rondelle after sewing through your clasping again. We're going to go into the 11-0 that is between the rondelles, and then through the next rondelle. We have to travel down to the bottom rondelle here. So then we're coming out of this one, we're going to go into the 11-0 and the bottom rondelle right here. And now we're going to prepare for the extension in between and the next unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0 and 3 11-0 seed beads, and we're going to drop them down to the unit. So this is what you should have. And then you're going to pick up a rondelle and you're going to go through it. Like this, bring it down to your beads. Then you're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. Oh, come here. And we're just going to slide up through just the 8-0 seed bead. So pick up your beads. If it falls away, it's okay. We can tighten that back up. And just go through that 8-0, then put your thumb and your finger over that 8-0 and pull your beads through. This way you can kind of control and guide this up. And it should make a little guide that looks like this. Now we need to finish this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and we're going to go into the rondelle on the opposite side from which we started, like this, and pull these down. And this is what you should have. Now we have to sew down into these beads, so we're just going to go at a diagonal and come through this rondelle so we can make our next unit of rondelles. So we're going to go through these 3 11-0s here, into the 8-0, and then into all 3 11-0s on this side. Just make sure you don't miss any. If you have to go back and pick up one down here, you can do that, but try to get them all in one stroke like this, and hold on to your piece and pull that down. Now you're going to go back into the rondelle. Get this in the proper position, sorry about that. Just like that. I've got everything tight, my thread doesn't have any slack. I'm going into this rondelle right here. I'm going to pull this through and tighten with a tiny tug, and then I am going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. Let me back off a little bit. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a rondelle, an 11-0, and a rondelle, an 11-0, a rondelle, and an 11-0. Because we already have a rondelle on the unit, we're only picking up 3 this time, but we're still picking up 4 11-0 seed beads. So you will have onto your needle, just like this, 11-0, rondelle, 11-0, rondelle, 11-0, rondelle, and an 11-0. Then we're going to go into the opposite side of the rondelle from which our thread is coming out. And then we're going to pull these down. Just like this. Now, sew through this unit one more time just to tighten it and secure it. So we're coming out of the rondelle. We're just going to go ahead and sew through all of the 11-0s and all of the rondelles. You could proceed without doing this, but this will make your bracelet stronger, neater, and easier to work with. When you put your embellishment on, your beads won't slide around. So just go ahead and sew through them. They will slide around as you sew through them. That's okay. Once you get all the way around and you tighten your thread, it'll be better. So now I'm coming out of this 11-0 between the rondelles. I'm going to come up into the rondelle, and I'm going to tighten my thread. Now, you can see I have a little bit of an issue with my beads in between, and that's because I sewed through these. They're nice and tight when I came back down, but they're not so pretty on this side. Now, you can either do this or not, but what I like to do is just go back up into these. I'm coming out of this rondelle here after securing my unit. I'm going to come back through these 3, and then the 8-0, and then the 3 on this side. And you see I didn't get all 3, so I will come back and get that 1. And then you can go through your rondelle again. And then sew back down like we did originally. Now you can see what a difference that makes in my piece. It just makes it so much better. Some people don't like to do the extra sewing through, but let me tell you, it makes a huge difference. So I'm just going to sew back down. All I've done is just reinforce the center section here. And you could probably do that too before you actually make the next unit. We'll try that and see how that works. Just like this. Now I'm going to go through this rondelle. And then I'm going to put on my embellishment. So we will pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and an 8-0 and 4 15-0s. Just like this. So I'm coming out of this rondelle here. I want to go into the opposite rondelle in the opposite side. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to hold on to my unit and go through just this bead, ignoring the 11 O's on either side, and pull this down. And then I'm going to pick up 4 of my 15-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go up just through the 8-0. Now this is going to loosen up, so I'm going to put my thumb over it just like this, and then I can pull my needle through and just kind of guide it without everything distorting. Give it a little tug and it's nice and neat, just like that. Then I'm going to pick up 4 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to go through the rondelle here. And this is what we have. Now we're going to sew down to this bottom bead to do the next extension. And I think we'll try just sewing through the extension both ways and then see if that works a little bit smoother instead of coming back through after we've made the unit. So we're coming through this rondelle now. We're going to go into this 11-0 and the rondelle on the bottom here. My seed beads covering the hole there. So you can kind of scoot them around if they get in your way. And this is what I have. And now I am going to make my extension between the two by picking up my 3 11-0 seed beads. Then I'll pick up an 8-0, 3 11-0s, a rondelle, just like this. Then I'm going to drop this down, and then I am going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and I'm just going to come up through the 8-0 here. So I'm going to pick this up, let my beads fall, it doesn't matter, go through this 8-0 here, hold on to the 8-0, pull my needle through, and just guide this all up like this. Pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and go into the opposite side from which we started of the rondelle on the bottom of our previous unit. Just like this. Now we've got this little extension guy. We're going to sew through it this way, and then we're going to sew back through it this way, come down and sew down one more time. So let me show you. That way it'll be all ready and we don't have to sew back up through it like we did on the first one. So we're going to go through in a diagonal all of the 11-0s and the 8-0 and the 11-0s on the bottom here. If you can get them all. See, I can't get that very bottom one, so that's okay. I'll pull through, give a little tug to tighten everything up, and then I'll go through that 11-0 right there. And now I've sewn at a diagonal down this way. I'm going to go through the rondelle, and then I'm going to sew a diagonal this way. So I'll go up these 3 beads on this side, the 8-0, and these 3 up here. See if I can get them all, and I did. So I can sew here and through the rondelle. It just makes everything so much better to do it that way. Go through the rondelle, and now you've got a really nice start for your next unit. We just have to get to it. So we're going to go down in a diagonal again, all 6, well actually 7 of these beads. 3 11-0s and 8-0, and then 3 11-0s on this side. And again, that bottom one is at an angle that's difficult to get through. So I'm just going to go through 2, and then I will go through that one here. And tangle my thread. And then go into this one. Now, that eliminates the extra step after we do our next unit. So you can do it either way. I think that that's a little bit more of a smooth transition. So now we want to make our next unit. So we're going to pick up an 11-0, a rondelle, an 11-0, a rondelle, 11-0, and a rondelle, and one more 11-0. So it's 4 11-0s, 3 rondelles, and drop them down just like this. And we're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. So we're going to go into this rondelle right here. This is just a right angle weave with a little extension in between the units. That's all this is. Very simple. You can do this really fast and have a couple of presents or whatever, even though it's a late date here. So let's go through all of these beads and tighten our unit. So I'm just sewing back through all 4 of the rondelles and the 11-0s between them. And now that I have sewn all the way around, tighten up my unit, make it look pretty. Now I don't have to sew up through this extension because I already did. So now all I have to do is put my embellishment on. So I will pick up 3 15-0s and an 8-0 and 3 15-0s. And I'm coming out of this bead on this side. I want to find the opposite bead and go into the opposite side. So I'm just going to go in a diagonal across this unit, just like this. And then I'm going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, go up through the 8-0 here, put my thumb over it and pull my thread through, pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and then go into the opposite side of the top bead of the unit here where we started. Pull this down, make sure it's nice and clean and tight, looks good, and then we're going to sew back down to this bottom bead here. So we're going to go into the 11-0 and rondelle and 11-0 on the side here, our original unit, and then into this one here. We'll make one more extension and then we'll do the rest of it offline or off camera. Offline? I don't know, guys. My brain is kind of fried. So we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. We're going to pick up an 8-0, and we're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and then we're going to pick up a rondelle. So this is what I have, and I'm going to bring it down just like that, and then I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to go into just the 8-0. My beads will fall away, that's okay. I'm going to then hold on to the 8-0 seed bead and pull my thread through and guide all this up nice and tight like this. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more of my 11 O's, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the rondelle from which I started, just like this. Now we're going to sew down in a diagonal through all of these beads in the middle, through the rondelle, back up, and then we'll come out this way and go back down one more and go into the rondelle. So this is what we're going to do. Let's go into all 3 of these 11 O's, into the 8-0, and then into all 3 of these 11 O's down here, just like this. And hold on to that unit and pull. Then we're going to go into the rondelle and we're going to sew the opposite side here. So we'll go up in a diagonal this way. All 3 of the 11 O's, the 8-0, and the 11-0 here. I got a funny 11-0 there. And we're going to pull through and go through the rondelle. Now, we have sewn through successfully this little X that we've created in between the units. Now we just need to sew through one more time and come out this rondelle. Then we're ready to start our next unit. So just go through all 3 of the 11 O's, the 8-0, and all 3 of the 11 O's beneath the 8-0 on this side. Just like this. Pull your needle through and then go through the rondelle here. Now you're ready to start your next unit. If you need more guidance, just back up the video a little bit and watch the previous unit and just do the exact same thing on each unit. And we will continue making these units with the extensions in between until we have 8 units with 7 extensions in between. Now we're going to put one more extension on the end here, and we're going to put on our clasping. Now, of course, you can adjust the number of units that you make according to the length that you need for your particular wrist. I'm going to make mine around 7 inches, and I will measure it for you so you can see what I have here. And that will give you a reference to how many units you will need for your bracelet. If you're making it for someone else and they're a very small person, you want to make it around 6 inches in total. If they are a medium-sized person, around 7 inches in total. And if they are a large person, around 8 inches. Now, when I measure this, I am placing it halfway through my toggle here on this side. That's the proper measurement. And I am right at 7 inches right now. So this is going to be just a little bit, with the 8 units I made, it's going to be a little bit over a 7-inch bracelet, probably about 7.5. So that'll give you a reference to know how big this many units will make, and you can adjust yours accordingly. Now, we are coming out of the rondelle on the end here after finishing the last embellishment here, the last unit and embellishment. And we are going to just do another extension just like we did on this side and put the other clasp end on to the bracelet. So we're going to pick up, second, my thread is messed up. There we go. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0, and we're going to drop it down to the rondelle. And then we're going to go through the clasp loop. Oh, come here. And drop that down. Then we will just go right back through this 8-0 right here. And I'm just going to hold on to the 8-0 like this, and I'm going to pull my needle through and guide the clasping down to that 8-0 seed bead. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more of my 11 seed beads, and I'm going to go into the other side. Just like this. Now, if you find that you're having difficulty getting this end through the round end, you can always put 2 8 seed beads here too. But I think we have enough room to actually work with this. So I'm going to do it like this, and then I'm going to sew back through this twice, just like I showed you on the other side. Once I've sewn back through this entire clasping area twice, we'll come back, we'll tie off our thread. And now you can see what this looks like now that I have tightened up and secured, gone through my clasping twice. It's nice and organized looking, and it has some strength. So what I'm going to do now, I'm coming out of the rondelle after finishing my last go through of the clasping, and right here I'm going to grab this little thread bridge. There's one right between the 11 and the rondelle. Not the embellishment of the 15 O's, but right here. I'll show you where I'm at here. And I'm just going to go underneath this 11 that's between the two rondelles in my original unit. And then I'm going to create a little loop, put my needle through it, and pull a little knot down between these beads, making sure it goes down between them nicely and doesn't distort anything and isn't on top of the beads. And then I'm going to go into this 11 and this rondelle and this 11 over here. And again, you can see there's a tiny thread bridge right here. Go between the 11 and the rondelle, not on the thread bridge that carries the embellishment over the top, just between the beads in the original unit. And then I am going to tie another knot and bring it down and then go into this rondelle. Then I'm just going to sew down through this extension here, just like we were doing when we put it on originally. Let's go down in a diagonal motion here and through this rondelle. Now you could tie a couple more knots if you want, or you can just go ahead and cut this off here, because you could tie a knot here, go through, and tie a knot on this side too. You can tie as many as you feel like you need for the security of your piece. Now I've left just a little bit of a thread here, maybe not quite enough to burn down. Let me see. Let's see if I can pull that out a little bit. And then I'll get my lighter, you can see that little tiny tag, and I'll just roll that in. Just by getting the heat close, do not light it on fire, and be careful not to burn any of your other threads. And then I have one on this side here too, from when I started my piece, and I'll just get the flame close and it'll roll into my beads. And then I have decided that I want to put on to my bracelet one of the little charms that came in the bag. Of course, you can use any charm you've got. If you did not get a Santa's Treasures treasure bag, you can use whatever you want. And I think this Christmas tree looks really cute too, but I'm going to put the snowflake on because it's a little bit smaller. So I've got a small jump ring. It's about 3mm jump ring. And I'm just going to open it and put this little charm on here. Now, my jump ring's a different color shade or different shade of gold than this is, and my seed beads and that, and I'm just not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to go ahead and put the charm on because gold shades are always different, but I have enough on here to where it's working okay. It's not that horribly different. So I'm just going to slide onto this little loop right here next to where the beads connect. I'm going to slide this on here, and then I'm going to close the jump ring. That will hold it away from my actual toggle so that it doesn't interfere with my toggle. You could put it directly on the toggle if you're afraid that it's going to interfere with your sewing through, and some people will say, well, that'll make it break or whatever, but I think it looks pretty good there, and I think it's going to be pretty secure. So that's where I'm going to put it, and that's what that looks like. And then let me see how this fits, because this probably ended up to be a little bit big for me. But if I went 1 unit shorter, it'd probably be a little too tight, and I'd rather have it loose. So let me see if I can get this on my wrist, and I'll be right back. Here it is. Let me show you my little dingle here. Like that. And this is what it looks like on my wrist, so you can see the scale of it. It's dainty, it's really pretty, very simple, and pretty fast to make, since I took so long to get tutorials ready for everybody, and I really do apologize about that. But of course, this can be done in any color scheming too. It doesn't have to be Christmas themed, and the way it is now, without the snowflake on it, or even with it, the green and the pearls do not necessarily have to be Christmas either. So, or you could make it more Christmassy by making this one green and this one red. So you could put a red one on top and a green one here, vice versa, or whatever you'd like to do. Your color scheming can be changed to any theme that you would like. So, and you can also, of course, try it with a different little charm. You could put a little leaf here, you could put a little heart, whatever you want, or don't put a charm on it at all. That's fine too. But however you do this, you can either Christmas theme it or not. And it's pretty quick, fast moving, makes a great gift, all those things. So I hope you like it, and Merry Christmas.